Are electronic cigarettes helping people give up smoking tobacco? New research published today in the British Medical Journal is trying to answer that question. Vaping has certainly taken off in the UK, with around a quarter of all tobacco smokers saying they use e-cigarettes as well. Today's research was funded by Cancer Research UK. It found that e-cigarettes are helping people to give up tobacco, but only a few people. 2.8 million people vape and 18,000 quit using e-cigarettes. Adam Williams is someone who's switched to vaping from tobacco. He started smoking at 12. He's 56 now. He was smoking 30 cigarettes a day, and he says he couldn't have stopped doing that without e-cigarettes.
I've tried on several other methods. I've tried the patches, inhalers, and acupuncture, which is probably the most painful one. None of them seemed to work for very long. Willpower, that never worked. And eventually I saw somebody vaping on what looked like a cigarette but wasn't a cigarette. And the idea sprung from that. And then eventually it became a livelihood in the end. But it definitely worked. I still have the occasional one, and I mean, when I say one, I mean 1 or 2 a week maybe, but that's just purely the devil on my shoulder.
Tobacco cigarette, the occasional 1 or 2?
I have the occasional 1 or 2, yeah, still. But
So
I'm not talking daily, I'm talking about, yes, literally the occasional 1 or 2.
What's the difference then, health-wise, for you between vaping and smoking tobacco, do you think?
Health-wise, I've got my breathing back. I was terrible, bordering on asthmatic. That's all gone now. My voice is projected far better as well. And physically, I'm a lot fitter.
Have you done anything else apart from the vaping? I mean, have you lost weight or...?
No, I haven't lost any weight, but I do like my beer. That's the problem on that one. But it's just generally overall, a hell of a lot fitter than what I was. And I know a lot of other people are in the same boat.
Now, a lot of people say that you just swap one addiction for another. You're still addicted to nicotine. You're just no longer taking it in with tobacco smoke. You're vaping it with a glycerine and water vapour instead. Yeah,
but nicotine is actually not quite as addictive as people make out. Unfortunately, when it was in bed with tobacco and being smoked with tobacco, it became more addictive than it is on its own. But to an ex-smoker or a smoker who takes in nicotine, there's still that psychological link which makes you feel like you're addicted more than you were. I do know a lot of people who've gone from high-strength nicotine down to zero, but they keep the placebo element of it, that's the hand-to-mouth part, which is one of the attractions of vaping.
Are you smoking as many of the vaping cigarettes as of the tobacco cigarettes?
It doesn't work like that. Generally speaking, the way to gauge it is however much you would consume in liquid fashion over a given period that you would have smoked gauges what your intake is. I would say I don't vape as much as I would have done with cigarettes. I used to smoke 30 a day, and I go through quite a small amount of liquid, but I'm on a high nicotine concentration.
Do you think you'll ever give up vaping?
No, I don't want to.
So you feel you're doing something, unhealthy, but not as unhealthy as you were doing before?
I wouldn't say it's unhealthy. I mean, I've known a lot of people who've actually had health reversal, who've had poor health and have improved. I'd say it's not 100%, nothing's 100% safe, but I'd say it's an awful lot safer than smoking, yes.
Adam Williams. Well, Professor Robert West from University College London is one of the authors of today's report on vaping and smoking cessation. Professor West, is it fair to say that most of the vapers aren't trying to give up nicotine?
At any one time, that is true. About 70%, I think it is now, of people who are using e-cigarettes are smoking it as well, and they're using e-cigarettes primarily to cut down the amount they smoke, or to be able to use them in situations where they can't smoke. But that's largely because when you measure people at any one time, of course, almost no smokers are trying to stop smoking it at that moment. But what we do know is that a very large number of quit attempts, people who are trying to quit, in fact, 36% last year, involved an e-cigarette. So a lot of people who are, as we speak, using an e-cigarette while they're smoking will also probably go on and use an e-cigarette in a quit attempt.
When they're trying to quit, though, are they trying to get off nicotine? They may be trying to get off tobacco, but are they trying to get off nicotine?
It varies. I think that for some smokers, the goal, as with licensed nicotine products, nicotine patch and so on, is to become nicotine-free in due course and to use the e-cigarette as a kind of buffer between smoking and being completely nicotine-free. Whereas for other e-cigarette users, as the person that you spoke to
Yes,
just a bit
Adam
earlier,
Williams.
he doesn't have any problem with being someone who's going to use nicotine long term. He may change his mind, actually. A lot of people do. So it does vary.
Now, he is absolutely adamant from his own experience, so it is just one man's anecdotal experience, that he is a lot better in his health now that he's vaping rather than smoking 30 a day. But is there any real evidence that vaping is much less damaging for your health than inhaling nicotine in smoke from burning tobacco?
Well, this is the $64,000 question, and has caused a lot of controversy because you will see reports in the scientific literature which appear to be claiming that e-cigarettes are as damaging as cigarettes. But then when you look closely at what they find, they're not actually really comparing them with cigarettes. So Public Health England has done pretty extensive review, as have the Royal College of Physicians on this, and their best estimate is it's something in the region of perhaps around 5% of the risk of smoking. Now, that's not, if that's true, that's not insignificant, bearing in mind that smoking is killing about 100,000 people a year in this country alone. But it may not be that. It may be less, it may be a bit more. But I think what we're all agreed on pretty much is that it's substantially safer than smoking.
And Professor West, briefly if you would, what is the best way to stop smoking if you want to do that?
As far as the evidence is concerned, and obviously we collect more evidence as we go along, the best way to do it is a combination of what we call behavioural support or psychological support and one of the licensed products, either Champix or a licensed nicotine product together, or an e-cigarette possibly. That combination of the pharmacological, the drug support and the behavioural support combats really the two sides of the addiction, and you put them together and you get better results than you do with either alone. So we do have free stop smoking services now in almost all of the country, most of the country, and those remain the recommended way of stopping smoking. But we also recognise that a lot of people don't want to use those services, and if they don't, then it's looking like e-cigarettes are an option for them.
Professor Robert West from University College London, thank you very much for coming on.